We continue to follow the war in the Middle East at this hour. Negotiations ongoing to extend that truce between Israel and Hamas. If no deal is made by the end of today, it means an end to the pause. 81 hostages so far have been released, mostly women and children. 180 Palestinians have been freed from prison as part of the agreement. And since the deadly attack nearly 2 months ago, there are a lot of questions that are continuing to be raised as to who are the key leaders of Hamas. While many of the highest-ranking men have kept a low profile through the years, others have spent much of their lives evading assassination attempts by Israel. Here now, geopolitical consultant Eitan Charnoff. Thank you for being with us. This is a question I've had from the beginning, and so let's go through a few of these Hamas leaders that we know about, starting with Ismail Haniya. He is the prime minister, considered the prime minister. What do we know about him?
Yeah, so Ismail Haniya was born in Gaza, actually in the Ashati refugee camp in the early 60s. He rose through the ranks of Hamas in tandem with other figures who today are of equal importance in the movement. Okay, this movement was founded in the late 80s during the first Intifada against Israel, and it released in 1988 its charter, which explains the organization's radical ideology, desire for the destruction of Israel, and so on and so forth. But I want to draw attention to the second article in their charter. Okay, because this explains deeply their ideology and their regional and global connection. They announced that they are an extension of the branch of the Muslim Brotherhood in Palestine. The Muslim Brotherhood is a movement within Islam, a minority movement. It does not represent most Muslims, which seeks to establish Muslim domination. Okay? And as a result, through that ideology, they also seek to establish Muslim domination in Israel and Palestine. That does not simply mean the removal of Israel, but the creation of an Islamic state similar to the likes we've seen with ISIS. That is what they are here to establish.
Okay, and for Ismail, where is he? Where has he been living? When was he last seen?
So Ismail Haniya today is the political leader of the Hamas movement. It today functions like a government since 2006, when they won the Palestinian elections that were formed in the wake of Israel's withdrawal from Gaza, and then violently overthrew the PA in Gaza and took it over and set up a de facto government with a military branch and a political branch. Eventually, that political branch moved to Qatar, who today hosts them and partially funds Hamas. So Ismail Haniya moved as well to Qatar and today runs the political branch of this organization from the comfort of mansions and hotels in Qatar. He's a billionaire, by the way, and the aid that goes to Hamas and Gaza, much of it ends up in his pockets.
And Qatar is involved in the negotiations. Are they also protecting him?
So yes, Qatar are playing a very dangerous game, playing all sides in order to maintain relevance and gain political points across the board. On the one hand, they house Hamas and support Hamas. On the other hand, they're playing the hero of the West by negotiating with Hamas on behalf of Israel in order to release some of these hostages. This gains Qatar cheap PR points at the expense and safety of not just Israelis, but Palestinians as well, who suffer under Hamas's rule.
Let's talk about one of the other leaders, high-ranking leaders, that is Yahya Sinwar. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing his first name right, but he is believed to have been the mastermind behind the October 7th attack. What more can you share about him?
Absolutely. So Yahya Sinwar was also born around the same time in 1962 in Khan Yunis in the Gaza Strip. Okay, he was arrested in 1989 by the Israeli authorities for actually killing other Palestinians, not even for killing Jews. And he remained in Israeli jails for decades until he was released as part of a massive prisoner deal for one Israeli soldier in return for 1,000 terrorists and jailed Palestinians. He then quickly returned to Gaza and rose to prominence, eventually taking over the armed wing of Hamas. Now, like any government, there's factions. The political faction is no less violent in their ideology, however, sometimes chooses to play more conservative steps in order to maintain an air, at least, of political viability. The militant wing is far more vicious and far more violent. And he is ultimately the decision maker, not just behind the October 7th massacre, but countless other attacks on Israel and into Israel in the form of thousands of rockets being fired over the past decade.
Thank you for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find NewsNation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.